Hello and welcome to Channel Venus. We've again come together to study Julius Caesar, and when we are studying Julius Caesar, we must understand that it is a play that we are going through. And what is the play about? What type of a play is it? It's a tragedy, and why is it a tragedy? It's a tragedy because Julius Caesar, the person who has been who is supposed to be the main character, was assassinated. However, in spite of the fact that Julius Caesar is supposed to be the main person, and but he was actually killed midway between the drama. In the middle of the drama, though his ghost comes later on in the play, and but more or less the main character is Marcus Brutus. Okay, so we will just carry on, and as we were studying about Brutus, we were just going through Brutus and Cassius's conversation, where we found that Cassius actually wants to convince Brutus into coming out of his shell. He wants Brutus to be aware of his leadership qualities, of the qualities which he has inside himself. And actually, Cassius is very jealous of Caesar. He does not want Caesar to become king, and he does not want to be a subordinate to Julius Caesar. So he wants his noble friend Brutus to actually take over the leadership from Julius Caesar and carry on. So just a brisk revision through the previous day's portion, before I go on to the next few lines. Okay. So in line 82, Cassius says, Act 1, Scene 2, line 82. Cassius says, do you fear it? And must I think you would not have it so? That is, what is he fearing? That is, just before this, Brutus has said that he can hear some people shouting. And why are the people shouting? Brutus has just said that what means this shouting? I do fear the people choose Caesar for their king. So Brutus is a bit troubled when he is not ready to accept that the people are choosing Caesar for their king. So that is exactly the point which Cassius wants to drill in him. And fortunately for Cassius, Brutus also is thinking in the same way. Okay. Then Brutus says, then Cassius says, do you fear it? That is, oh, do you really fear it? Then must I think you would not have it so? That is, do you fear it? Are you frightened of it? That is, you really don't want it to happen that way. Brutus says, I would not, Cassius, yet I love him well. And wherefore do you hold me here so long? That is, he can guess the point which Cassius wants to drive him to. He is actually in mental conflict. He wants to safeguard the honor of the state, and at the same time, that means if he has to if he has got to safeguard the honor of the state, he has to go against Caesar. Here is the point where he is trying to fight within himself, because he loves Caesar. At the same time, he doesn't want him to rule, because he feels that if Caesar rules, then the commoners will suffer. Then in the interest of the state, then in the honor of the state, he feels Caesar should not be allowed to rule. That is why he says, I would not, Cassius, yet I love him well. But wherefore do you hold me here so long? What is it that you would impart to me? What exactly are you wanting me to understand with the words that you are talking, with the words that you are telling me? If it be towards the general good, that is, if it is for the good of the general mass, if it is for the good of the nation, then he is ready. He's saying, set honor in one eye and death in the other. That is, if he is to safeguard, that is, there are two things. Either he safeguards his nation, or if they accept Caesar, then they have to die. That is, both cannot carry on at the same time. His love for Caesar and his love for Caesar, as well as accepting Caesar as the king. He cannot carry both the things. He cannot carry on both the things together. So he says, set honor in one eye and death in the other, and I will look on both indifferently. That is, I will look at both separately. For me, honor is separate, and death in one eye, that is separate. Because if I feel that I have to look at honor in a different way, I will not look at myself, I will not look at Caesar, I will not look at the relation which that I care for him, I love him, and I am supporting him. No, I am not supporting him where the honor of my state is concerned. Cassius, I know that virtue to be in you, Brutus, as well as I do know your outward favor. That is, I know that virtue to be in you. I know you have that quality inside you, and that is the reason I also know the outward favor which you have, your outward appearance, your outward behavior which you carry on. Well, honor is the subject of my story. That is, honor is the subject of my story as well. I cannot tell you what I cannot tell what you and other men think of this life. But for my single self, I had as lief not be as live to be in awe of such a thing as I myself. That is, here comes out Cassius with his jealousy against Caesar. He says that I don't know what you or other people think of life. But for me, I will not be happy to serve, to be under him, to live as Caesar's subordinate. I was born free as Caesar, so were you. We both have fed as well, and we can both endure the winter's cold. That is, we have got the same characteristics as Caesar. Then why must Caesar be given the advantage? Why must he be given the advantage of ruling over all of us? So with this, he comes out a few examples whereby he feels that he can prove Caesar is weak. For once upon a raw and gusty day, the troubled Tiber, chafing with her shores, Caesar said to me, "Darest thou, Cassius, leap with me into this angry flood and swim to yonder point?" Upon the word, accoutred as I was, that is, Caesar says that, "Are you now ready, Cassius, to leap with me into the angry river?" River Tiber was, it was just very ferocious. It was just, the waves were very powerful there. So he says that, "Cassius, can you do one thing? Can you just dive with me, that is, leap with me into this angry flood and swim to yonder point?" That is, swim to a nearby point. He has fixed a point. Can you swim to that point? Well, Cassius says, "Accoutred as I was." What does accoutred mean? Accoutred means he was stressed up. So what did Cassius do? He just dived in immediately and begged Caesar to follow. Accoutred as I was, I plunged in and bade him follow. So indeed he did. The torrent roared, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews. The torrent roared, the waves They were very powerful, and we did buffet it with lusty sinews. That is, both of them being muscular. They tried to counteract the force of the waves. The waves actually did not want them to move forward. They were entering an opposing force. And now what they did was, they tried to counteract the force of the waves with their lusty muscular cells. Okay. Now, and stemming it with hearts of controversy. Stemming it with hearts of controversy. Yes, here there was definitely a sense of competition. Competition between Caesar and Cassius. Competition between the waves and Caesar, the waves and Cassius. Because Caesar actually wanted to prove that he was powerful. Cassius wanted to prove that he was powerful. The waves wanted to prove that the waves were powerful. So there was a sense of competition existing between them. So now, but ere we could arrive at the point they had decided, but ere we could arrive at the point, what did he do? Caesar suddenly cried, "Help me, Cassius, or I sink." Caesar says that, "Cassius, please come to my help. Please rescue." Before they had even reached the point which was proposed by Caesar, he just started shouting for help. Okay. "I, as Aeneas, our great ancestor." So Aeneas, his great ancestor, what had he done? He had carried Anchises on his shoulder when the Greeks had actually burned down Troy. He had rescued his ancestor. His ancestor Anchises from there. Old Anchises was carried by Aeneas on his shoulder and rescued from Troy. So he says, Cassius says, and that is exactly the way in which I rescued Caesar. From the waves of Tiber, I rescued tired Caesar. So from the waves of Tiber did I, the tired Caesar. And this man is now become a god. Oh God, this man who is so weak that he cannot even swim across the Tiber, he has now become a god. And Cassius is a wretched creature and must bend his body of Caesar carelessly, but not on him. That is, if Caesar commands him, Cassius is expected to listen. Well, yes, if Caesar becomes the ruler, that is exactly what is destined to happen. But Cassius is not in a mood to accept it. He is not willing to accept Caesar as his superior. And then he comes out with another occasion. He had a fever. That is, he's talking about Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar is supposed to have had a fever when he was in Spain. And when the fit was on him, that is, he was very sick, Cassius says, I did mark how he did shake. Well, Caesar actually in his fever, he was actually shaking from because of the fever, because he was sick. But Cassius wants to say that Caesar is actually very weak. It is true, this god did shake. Every time Cassius is calling him god, and then he is trying to be ironical, he is trying to be, making sort of fun of him and saying that, oh God, this is the God, a God who is so weak as this, as weak as a person who cannot cross the Tiber, as a person so weak that a person in his sickness starts trembling. And his covered lips did from their colour fly, and that same eye whose bend doth awe the world did lose his lustre. That same eye with which he looks at the world, and the world is awestruck, the world is so fascinated by him, did lose his colour. did lose his luster, did lose their glow. And that same height whose bent doth o'er the world did lose his luster. I did hear him groan, and that eye and the tongue of his that bade the Romans mark him and write his speeches in their books. Alas, it cried. That is that particular person who actually commands the Romans, gives them speeches, and the Romans, they are so fascinated, they are so moved that they take down the points, whatever he says, in their books, in their writing tablets in those days. That is, he says, alas, it cried, give me some drink, Titinius. Well, Caesar, when he had asked for the drink, he was sick. But Cassius is not ready to accept it. He says he is a very weak person. Alas, it cried, give me some drink, Titinius, as a sick girl. Ye gods, it doth amaze me, a man of such feeble temper should so get the start of the majestic world and bear the palm alone. A man of such a feeble temper, a feeble health, feeble temperament, feeble character, a person who is not strong enough, how can he get to the start of this majestic world and be the leader and bear the palm alone? The palm is a palm of victory. It's a symbol of victory. It's a symbol of triumph. How can he bear the palm alone? A person bearing the palm alone, bearing the palm means the person is actually emerged victorious. Cassius is not ready to accept it at all. That is, how can he be the only person, the only one who can be the ruler of the world? Brutus says, another general shout. I do believe, I'm sorry, that these applauses are for some new honors that are heaped on Caesar. So Brutus himself is getting troubled. He feels that these applauses are for some new honors which are being bestowed on Caesar. And this should not be. That is, according to him, he is getting trouble. He feels that he is not happy with the idea that Caesar should be applauded at, and he should not be reckoned, he shouldn't be recognized by the people. If all the people are shouting at him, that means definitely he is growing very powerful. And that is what is alarming Brutus. Well, Cassius exactly is trying to impart that idea into him. Cassius says, why man, he doth bestride the narrow world like a colossus. Why, of course it's true, he does dominate the world like a colossus, like the statue of Colossus. It is a huge statue, and he is saying, we petty men walk under his huge legs and peep about to find ourselves dishonorable graves. That is, if they become subordinate to Caesar, they become nearly slave-like. They become slave-like, and they have to just move around like petty, like helpless animals, and they should be looking towards their grave. Where else? Men at sometimes are masters of their fates. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves that we are underlings. The fault, dear Brutus, he says, is not in our stars. That is, we frequently say that our fate is poor and we are unlucky, and if we were lucky, we would have done this, we would have done that. But it's not that. It is in ourselves. We have the capacity. We have chosen to be underlings to Caesar. We have chosen to be Caesar's subordinate. Our fate is not to be blamed. We are to be blamed. That is what Cassius tries to say. But in ourselves that we are underlings. Brutus and Caesar, these two names, he is actually asserting He is saying that what is the difference between these two names? Brutus and Caesar. What should be in that Caesar? What is so special about Caesar? What is so special about Julius Caesar that he should be crowned king? He should be accepted king by the general mass. And why not Brutus? Why should that name be sounded more than yours? Cassius is telling Brutus. Why should Caesar's name be sounded, be heard more than yours? How is Caesar better than you? Write them together. Yours is as fair a name. If you write them, yours is as fair a name. If you sound them, it doth become the mouth as well. We can talk both of them with equal gravity. Weigh them, it is as heavy. Conjure with them. Brutus will start a spirit as soon as Caesar. Now, in the names of all the gods at once, upon what meat doth this our Caesar feed? That is, in the names of all the gods, what does Caesar eat? Upon what meat doth this our Caesar feed? That he should be so important to the country and not Brutus. That he is grown so great, age thou art ashamed. This is very important again. Actually, all lines are important. Reference to the context can be taken from any corner. And if you just understand the text, if you understand what is coming after what, if you understand the exact story which is there in the drama, then I don't think that you will ever forget the sequence. If you don't forget the sequence, you will never get your answers wrong. Just maybe continue. Age thou art shamed. Rome, thou hast lost the breed of noble bloods. That is, there was a time even when Brutus's ancestors had been rulers. And there were other noble bloods in Rome, noble people in Rome as well. But here he's saying that Rome, have you lost all noble bloods? Is there nobody here to take care of you? So, but it was when thereby made since the great flood. This great flood is also very, very important. We'll talk about the flood, and it is the flood of Genesis, which has been talked about here, where only one man was chosen by Jove, and he was just where only because in order to the humans had to be punished of their sins, so only one man was taken, and him and his wife Deucalion and his wife Pyrrha was taken, and they only survived. But since then, when has there been only one man? I repeat this line. When thereby made since the great flood, but it was famed with more than with one man. When could they say till now that talked of Rome, that her wide walks encompassed but one man? There's only one man everybody is talking about. When has there come such a crisis ever? Now, is it Rome indeed, and room enough? When there is in it but only one man? Are we talking about Rome? Are we talking about this particular nation? Is there room for only one man here now? Oh, you and I have heard our fathers say, there was a Brutus once that would have brooked the eternal devil to keep his state in Rome as easily as a king. Now here, there was once a Brutus. This Brutus was actually Lucius Junius Brutus, who was actually Marcus Brutus's ancestor. Lucius Junius Brutus, who was actually Marcus Brutus's ancestor. So that's what Cassius says. Have you forgotten those days? Have you forgotten everything? All the things that you have to be proud of you, of the heritage that you have. Have you forgotten everything that you have a duty towards your nation? Now Brutus says, that you do love me, I am nothing jealous. Nothing jealous means I am not doubtful about the fact that you actually love me very much. What you would work me to, I have some aim. That is, of course, I can guess what you are trying to make me believe and understand. How I have thought of this and of these times I shall recount hereafter. That is, I'll definitely let you know how I have come to this point where I can really understand. For this present, I will not talk about it now. So with love, I might entreat you, be any further moved. What you have said, I will consider. What you have to say, I will with patience hear. That is, whatever you have told me till now, I have understood and I will definitely consider. And what you have to tell me yet later, I'll definitely hear patiently and find a time both to meet and answer such high things. And of course, I'll definitely find a time to come to a point where I will definitely take a decision whether to agree upon it. But I will definitely talk about such high things at a later time, not now. Till then, my noble friend, chew upon this. That is, you can think about this. You can chew is actually ruminate. Just go on chewing. That is, go on thinking about this. Brutus had rather be a villager. Again important. Brutus had rather be a villager than to repute himself a son of Rome. Under these hard conditions, as this time is like to lay upon us. So if he is not in Rome, he doesn't have a duty. If he is a villager, if he is outside Rome, he doesn't have a duty. But if he is in Rome, he definitely has a duty towards. If he claims to be a reputed Roman, he definitely owes Rome certain duties which he has to perform. So he says Brutus had rather be a villager, a common person without any obligation to Rome, than to repute himself a son of Rome under these conditions, hard conditions as this time is like to lay upon us. So this hard conditions, it may have a result on us, and if I am to take care of it, I really have to be a true Roman. Cassius says, I am glad that my weak words have struck this much show of fire from Brutus. That is, Cassius says, I am happy that I have been able to light that fire in you which was not there so long. I was feeling, but actually Brutus was very emotionally upset for quite a length of time. And Cassius, he just wants to ignite that fire in him, whereby Brutus will think that yes, he has the capacity to overrule Caesar. So it's still here for today, and we'll continue in the next class. Please do like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.